What's up, good people? Chris, the Better Today Trades, back with another weekly recap. So without further ado, cue that intro. All right, guys. So to start this recap, I'm going to go ahead and look at my baby, the Qs. You know I love the Qs. I know you guys are probably sick of me talking about the Qs, but as you can see, this uptrend is still intact. We did have a minor short-term pullback from July into the end of October. And if you saw the last video that I did, you know that I was calling for a lower low from the Qs the week of the 23rd, just because we had tested this level, this 355 level, once here, and then this would be the third time. Third tests usually break. But I did say that hopefully we would see a rebound thanks to the earnings that were on deck from so many of the companies that make up the Qs, and they did not disappoint. The week of the earnings, yes, we did see some more downside, and we did see a lower low be put in. But since then, as you can see, last week was a crazy bullish candle, and this week we actually broke above that downtrend from July to October, which makes me believe we have much more upside on the way into the end of the year. I've gone on record saying I could see a $400 Q by the end of the year, and I must have said that back in September or something like that. So hopefully the Qs don't make me look like an idiot, but I do see nothing but upside for the Qs into the end of the year, into quarter one, when we'll probably see some sort of pullback just based off seasonality. The next chart I want to look at for you guys today is Microsoft. Now, Microsoft is making a strong case, in my opinion, for the best stock on the market, at least for this year, with their investment in OpenAI, and they're just leading the way in tech. You can see we put in a brand new all-time high for Microsoft this week of $370.10, and I just don't see what could slow this stock down except some terrible geopolitical news. But I mean, even with all of the wars and everything that we do have going on in the world, Microsoft is just chugging along. Just a beautiful uptrend all year. Great cup right here in the seasonal depression phase right here from July to about October, and then boom, just blasted off as soon as November hit to the moon. So this is a good stock to look at. Always a good stock to have in your portfolio, the way this thing rips. Another chart we're looking at today is not something new. You know, I've been talking about the VIX since probably August when I first did my deep dive into the VIX, saying that VIX would probably see a spike up and coming. I was calling for a $26 or a $30 VIX just based off averages and seasonality, but I'm looking at it now, and I'm not sure if we'll get that 26. I'm not sure what it would take to get 26.30, but we topped out at 23 a couple weeks ago, and ever since, like I said, ever since November 1st, all the panic has left the building. This uptrend that we were looking at in the last video has been broken. You can see here, we broke this candle vehemently. Now we're back down at the lows where there is no, these levels, these are the levels we were at when there was no fear in the market at all summer. So this, coupled with seasonality, is making me believe we may have seen the top for the VIX in this cycle, or at least to the end of the year. So the next chart I'm gonna look at today is Uber, because I'm just incredibly impressed with the way Uber has been trading all year since about like July, August of last year. But as you can see, if I draw the original trend line, it would have been here. We broke this trend line back in about May, and we just haven't looked back since. Even with the seasonal pullback that we had from July to November 1st, we didn't pull back too far. And if you look, we broke this downtrend line, and from here we can go back to the highs, more or less, with Uber. I know Uber has turned to profitability this year, which the market loves, and I did recently hear that Uber is well on its way to become part of the S&P. It's almost inevitable at this point. I think they need like one more quarter of profitability, and nothing to go terribly wrong for them. But at this point, it's almost a foregone conclusion that Uber will be in the S&P 500, which will give it a boost in itself. People tend to rush to stock. Like same thing happened with Tesla when it got added to the S&P a couple years ago. It went on a crazy run, and that is not something that is unique to Tesla. So when Uber gets added to the S&P, we should see some more upside here. Definitely a stock I like to look at for the next probably 10 years, as long as the business model doesn't change or something in the world doesn't change. All right, and looking at gold, because we did speak on gold in the last video as well, and as you can see, gold is in an uptrend over the year, just like almost every other asset we've looked at so far. And it was in a downtrend since about May. But as you can see, the last time we spoke, it did finally break this downtrend by taking this high here and making a new high that is higher than this high and higher than this high at this point. I did say in the last video that we would probably see some resistance up here. Price would cool off and we would try to put in a higher low. If you look here, it looks like we are attempting to put in a higher low, but we'll have to see what next week holds. I do expect early next week to have some follow through on the downside here. This candle might come down into about 170, 175. I mean, excuse me, 175, 175, 178-ish before we can possibly see some buyers step back in. Hopefully we get these buyers back in before, and we don't have to break this 168, 170 low down here. But that's just something to keep your eye on. Gold does look pretty here. One thing I don't love is we got a high here, we got a lower high here, and this would also be a lower high here. So this longer term downtrend is still very much intact. But if you look on a shorter term, we are still in this uptrend. If we can get back up to this longer term downtrend line, this would be the third test of this line, which would probably see a breakthrough and push this thing up well above the all-time high, which is 193, into maybe the twos. And last but not least, our final chart, we're looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going crazy here. Look at this. Look at this. These last few weeks. Oh, just beautiful. Now, as you can see, we're in an ultimately we're in an uptrend, but over the last like 3 years, we've been in a downtrend. But this downtrend has been being broken repeatedly. We broke this downtrend, and if you want to draw this one, we broke this one, and if you want to draw this one, it's broken. So at this point, Bitcoin is looking very strong, very bullish for us. We did have a period of consolidation or range bound price since April, from April to about October, end of October. We were just playing between 25,000 and about 30,000. But over the last couple of weeks, we were able to break above that 30,000, so that range bound resolved to the upside. So anybody who was short, anybody who was selling Bitcoin up here in this $30,000 region would have had to cover their positions, pushing the price up. So at this point, I could definitely see price going up to about $40,000 here on Bitcoin, and then we'll see if we can get a cool off. Maybe we get a cool off next week. I'm not exactly sure, but this asset is performing beautifully in this pre-halving year. Although typically during pre-halving years, we do have the first half of the year go up and the second half go down. But as of right now, that is not the case at all for Bitcoin. It's just up and it's stuck at this point. So we'll see what next week has in store for us for Bitcoin. and for all of these other assets that we looked at today. But that is your weekly recap, guys. Take this information into this next week. Use it to make some money in these markets. Good luck. Godspeed. You guys have a great day.